Whoever you are, whoever you may be, have no fear. Uncle Mikey is here. Well, well, well. CNN crushed by $1 billion defamation lawsuit. Well, the Comedy News Network has now met its match from all the things that they just say. Now, this is more than the $737 million defamation suit at Fox. So now you wonder what's going on. I bet you probably haven't even heard about it, because if you're listening to that side of the wall, they're not going to let you know this. So again, do your research. See, I do both sides so you don't have to, but again, you should be doing both sides too. Because we're living in a world of propaganda that's even coming from both sides. Okay? I'm an independent thinker. You should be too. But now, if you don't want to believe the truth, I can't help you. But if you're open, understand that you, as well as I, have been getting propagandized. So now this video comes from the State of Daniel YouTube channel. And I'm going to play this. So it's going to be a little bit longer video. I'm trying to keep it 10 minutes. But you need to hear this, because this is about America. This is about our military. This is about what happened actually in the craziness that came from Afghanistan. So let's listen and keep an open mind here.
Facing a $1 billion defamation lawsuit thanks to Jake Tapper, who is co-moderating the presidential debate this Thursday night. This $1 billion defamation suit is considerably larger than the $787 million that Fox News settled with Dominion. This case is being tried right now, and I'm going to show you footage of CNN's lawyer getting absolutely wrecked in the courtroom. But this raises the question, where is the media coverage on this? Why isn't the New York Times, MSNBC, and the rest of the press covering this like they covered the Fox News Dominion lawsuit? It's almost like the mainstream media outlets all protect each other. The $1 billion lawsuit is being brought against CNN by Zachary Young, a U.S. Navy vet who helped people evacuate Afghanistan during Biden's disastrous withdrawal. So here's how the segment in question began.
In our World Lead today, the U.S. government, the Biden administration, says that as of last week, it had assisted in the departure of at least 377 U.S. citizens and 279 lawful permanent residents of the U.S. from Afghanistan since August 31st. Still, many Afghans who desperately want to flee Taliban rule, and Afghans who say their lives are at stake, they remain behind. As CNN's Alex Marquardt has discovered, Afghans trying to get...
Now, did you notice the chyron, the text at the bottom of the screen? While Jake Tapper was talking, the text talked about black markets, which of course implies illegal activity. And to make matters worse for CNN, the text mentioned exorbitant fees and no guarantee of safety, which implies a scam. Now, before I show you the rest of the segment, it's important to explain that this was intentional language. And the good news is we have proof. You see, part of what makes defamation cases so difficult to win is that you actually have to prove and show malicious intent. Well, according to the official filing in Florida's First District Court of Appeals, Zachary Young was able to get his hands on internal communications at CNN and submit those as evidence. In those messages, CNN employees called him bag and asshole and remarked that they were going to nail this Zachary Young. Marquardt referred to him as Young and quipped, "It's your funeral, bucko." By the way, CNN's official response to all of that is that that was just journalistic bravado.
Nothing to see here, please!
So as the segment continued, CNN accused Young of exploiting Afghans. The language appeared to suggest that Young was some sort of human trafficker and scam artist.
Afghans trying to get out of the country face a black market full of promises, demands of exorbitant fees, and no guarantee of safety or success.
Desperate Afghans are now being exploited, like that young man, told that they can get them or their families out if they pay exorbitant, often impossible amounts. Found a man named Zachary Young, who is one of many advertising evacuations from Afghanistan, posting just this week, "We can deliver."
Young is arguing that by using the words black market, exploit, and exorbitant, CNN is portraying him as a scam artist preying on desperate people. And to make matters worse, CNN focused on the high prices without explaining that the high costs were due to security measures needed to smuggle people out of the country safely.
One LinkedIn user posted messages with Young, where Young said it would be $75,000 for a car to Pakistan. He told another it would be $14,500 per person to get to the United Arab Emirates, or Albania for another $4,000. Prices well beyond the reach of most Afghans.
Before we get into what happened in the courtroom, it's important to see the rest of the segment.
Young's number and called, but he didn't pick up. In a text message, he told CNN that Afghans trying to leave are expected to have sponsors pay for them. If someone reaches out, we need to understand if they have a sponsor behind them to be able to pay evacuation costs, which Young says are highly volatile and based on environmental realities.
Now remember what was said about the immigrants coming into the United States. It said you had to have a sponsor. That's been how it is like forever. You have to have a sponsor to get, not just in our country, but to get out of other countries as well.
Also, remember the context here. The Afghan withdrawal was a failure. The planning, or lack thereof, was Joe Biden's fault. He ordered the withdrawal, and therefore the disaster and blame are with him. But instead of investigating Joe Biden and the disastrous withdrawal, CNN decided to investigate people trying to help those who were trapped in Afghanistan. How's that for priorities? Oh, and by the way...
Oh, and remember, what did he do? What did President Biden do? He took the military out first and left it up to volunteers to get Americans as well as some of the citizens out.
Even though CNN aired this on TV, they were so unsure about the story that they refused to publish it on their website. According to the court filing, Young proffered CNN messages and emails that showed internal concern about the completeness and veracity of the reporting. The story is a mess, incomplete, and not fleshed out for digital. The story is 80% emotion, 20% obscured fact, and full of holes like Swiss cheese. And this is the network we're trusting to run the presidential debate later this week. Great. Well, in the courtroom, one of the judges appeared to suggest that CNN is indeed guilty of defamation. Take a look.
The thing in this particular case that does seem a little more actionable was the fact that, when they were talking about Mr. Young, they had his picture on the thing, and there was a chyron that says he was involved in a black market. And, I've looked in a couple of dictionaries, 3 or 4, and the first definition for black market in all the dictionaries is criminal activity. And, if you are accusing someone of criminal activity and they're not involved in a crime, that's usually defamation per se.
Now, what's interesting here is CNN's lawyer's response. If you listen closely, you can actually hear the lawyer's voice shaking. And based on the lawyer's age, I would imagine that he's fairly experienced. So why the shaky voice? It's almost as if he's nervous or doesn't believe what he's saying, but that's just my interpretation. See for yourself.
Correct?
Under the law where we would be looking at the defamatory meaning, perhaps it would be. Here we're on a question of actual malice, express malice, and outrageous conduct measured by objective standards. Under that criteria, Your Honor, regardless of what the meaning may be in the dictionary, which is an objective definition, what plaintiff needed to show is subjectively CNN intended that meaning. Otherwise, there is no facts in the record to give rise to a reasonable jury question about actual malice.
Tell me how the trial.
Oh boy, your side is losing when you have to argue with the dictionary. It's one thing for the far left to try to change the meaning of words on us, but it's one thing to hear a lawyer say, well, what you see in the dictionary doesn't really matter.
Together,
So these are lawyers and professional writers that are used to dealing with words and have dictionaries and know how precise what words mean.
One would presume, Your Honor, that they're educated people, that they've been in the business for a while, but Your Honor, there is nothing in the record discussing the word blackmail at all among any of the CNN journalists.
Yeah.
And it is plaintiff's burden.
Well, black market is the word that was used in the chyron, right?
Did you notice how CNN's lawyer just appeared to make up a new argument on the stand? He started talking about blackmail out of nowhere. But the issue isn't about blackmail, but whether or not CNN slandered Zachary Young by using the words black market. So remember that the judge just brought up the phrase black market and correctly stated that it was in the Chiron. Well, the lawyer attempted to deny it while proving the judge's point. You can't make this stuff up.
Actually, Your Honor, the words used in the Chiron and said by Jake Tapper when he introduced the story was Afghans trying to get out of the country face a black market full of promises, demands of exorbitant fees, and no guarantees of safety or success. And so in context, we maintain that it is clear on the face what CNN meant by black market, which is defined within the phrase itself.
Well, the only problem with this excuse is that CNN literally showed Zachary Young's face immediately after talking about black markets and exorbitant fees. In fact, CNN didn't even talk about anyone else. The entire segment was about Zach Young. The good news here is that another judge stepped in and hit back against the CNN lawyer, who then attempted to make the argument that there was no actual malice.
But none of those things describe what could be commonly referred to as black market. I see Judge Roberts' point that black market clearly implies, dictionary definition or otherwise, an illegal exchange of goods.
Your Honor,
That has nothing to do with those other descriptions in the Chiron.
if it was a poor choice of words, Your Honor, and at best we argue that it was at best a poor choice of words, Your Honor, that may have impact on the rest of this case below under negligent standard actual malice, I mean, whatever standard the trial judge decides to apply.
But there's just one problem. Don't forget the internal texts and emails from CNN. Thanks to those, we do know that people within CNN intended to run with this half-baked story and that their goal was to destroy Young. And fortunately, the judges picked up on this.
Of the intention for that meeting.
So what are we to make of the internal emails that were brought into the record where they called Mr. Young a shitbag? They said that they were going to nail this Zachary Young MFer. Said he had a punchable face, said he was an asshole, and said it was his funeral, bucko. What do we make of those?
Your Honor,
is that at least some evidence of malice?
it's actually the opposite, Your Honor.
Welcome to leftism, where you are not allowed to believe what you see with your own eyes and hear with your own ears. But as always, that is just my analysis, and I would love to hear yours in the comments below. Do you think?
So I think it's pretty plain, okay, on what this is going on. These guys always tell you, don't believe your lying eyes. Don't believe your lying ears. Now, I'm going to leave this with a quote by Abraham Lincoln. You can fool some of the people all the time, and all of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all of the people all of the time. And if you're still following these Comedy News Network, I think you need to open your eyes and realize that you're being propagandized. So check out some of my other videos here. I've got another one coming about the debate here on why Joe Biden is letting former President Trump do the last saying on the debate tomorrow night. Just remember this, wherever you are, whoever you may be, have no fear. Uncle Mikey's here. Head on with Michael. I'll see you on the next video.